a notified oblique scheduled industry under the Industrial Development Regulation Act, hereinafter referred to as IDR, namely declaration by Parliament under Section 2 of the IDR Act, read with Section 18 of the IDR Act, covers the entire field, ousting states' jurisdiction. The sole issue broadly is whether states have legislative jurisdiction to deal with and regulate industrial alcohol, as well as the expanse of it, whether the jurisdiction is exclusive or concurrent. Synthetics 2 is erroneous on both the counts. It is for this reason that the reference order of the Constitution Bench dated 8/12/2010 doubts the correctness of it after meticulously examining the judgment. The state's jurisdiction over industrial alcohol can be exercised in two ways. A, state has jurisdiction and control over industrial alcohol under entry 8, list 2, or states have jurisdiction in respect of industrial alcohol under entry 33, list 3 as product of notified scheduled industry under IDR Act, and the field is unoccupied. This is a statement which not as a mark, not that the field is unoccupied. Because entry 33, list 3, not question of occupied field will arise. Intoxicating, I'll come to this, then kindly have questions. I have framed for your audience's convenience the questions. Page 29, not Lordship, I have framed. License claim. Huh. But I've got down to
question.
I have. Page 29 of the volume 1. Page 29 of volume 1 itself, Lordship would have the questions. Whether state can regulate and control industrial alcohol page 29.
Page 29 of volume 1.
It's page 29 of volume 1A, same volume. Questions for consideration. Whether state can regulate and control industrial alcohol, commonly called rectified spirit, of more than 95% V by V, including denatured spirit. This has two aspects. A, 1, whether industrial alcohol is included in entry 8 list 2 and is therefore within its exclusive jurisdiction and control. Or 2, whether it falls under entry 24 of list 2 and therefore can travel on to entry 52 of list 1 on specification of fermentation industry as a notified industry under Industrial Dispute Development and Regulation Act. Not this question, if I may not pause for a moment and elaborate a little more. Entry 52 list 1 is the entry under which IDR Act was issued in the year 1951. Enabling the center or the union to specify which of the industries it wants to take over. Now, entry 52 is intricately linked with entry 24 list 2. Lordship would have not entry 24.
We'd like to just sort of show us the entries so that we can
I'll come to
outset.
I'll come to just
Let's
for
look at the entries first so that the whole thing turns in on the construction of the entries in this case.
Quite right.
So let's look at the different entries which are involved. That's the best way to go about it. Then we'll of course read your questions.
first entry to be taken into consideration is entry 52, list 1. This is where the blood synthetics too had placed industrial alcohol. Because IDR Act comes in, and fermentation industry was notified in the year 1956 under the schedule to the IDR Act, implying thereby that the declaration under IDR Act would apply, and this industry is abstracted from entry 24 list 2 and goes on to entry 52 list 1. Once a declaration is made, entry 52 comes in operation. Otherwise, entry 52 list 1 has no, it's a shell, it is inoperative. Unless there is a declaration. See, if I may place entry 52.
Yes.
Industries, the control of which by the union is declared by parliament by law to be expedient in the public interest. So what it implies is not those industries where the union feels that the control should come to the union and the parliament has to declare it by law. That law will indicate the extent of control it wants to take over also. And that industry to that extent comes over to. But importantly, along with 52, Lord, if I may juxtapose entry 24 list 2. Because we can't understand entry 52 list 1 without looking into entry 52, entry 24 list 2. Is industries subject to the provision of entries 7 and 52 of list 1. So there is an inherent link between entry 52 list 1 and entry 24 list 2. Industry as a subject originally belongs to the state jurisdiction. Just for a moment, keep out the IDR Act or the declaration.
Entry 24 is subordinate to entry 52 of list 1.
No difficulty. It is. There's no doubt about it. Subject to. But what I'm saying is let us for a moment, for the purposes of analysis, take out the IDR Act or the declaration. Then what conclusion that comes to the fore is that entry 24 is the basic entry where state has jurisdiction over industry. Now that word industry transports to or gets transported to entry 52 on a declaration by parliament. If parliament makes a declaration.
No, that actually entry 52, entry 24 of list 1 of list 2 is made subject to entry 52 of list 1. Entry 52 of list 1, which gives the dominance to a parliamentary law, is provided parliament has made a declaration in a law.
Provided. That's what I'm saying. Not unless there is a declaration, the jurisdiction rests in the state.
Obviously, if
that's the point.
But right, but once the declaration is made under entry 52,
then that part law, which is taken over goes to the union.
One further very interesting thing is look at entry 54 in contrast to 52. I mean, we were dealing with entry 54 just 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Regulation of mines and mineral development. To the extent to which regulation and development under the control of the union is declared by parliament by law to be expedient in the public interest. Now, the words to the extent to which are interestingly absent in entry 52.
There is a reason.
So, once parliament makes a declaration, and this, as in this case under section 2, the entirety of that field of that industry is within the control. It's not to the extent to it.
I'll answer that question. Note that question has very frequently arisen and lots of have answered it in a number of occasions. The word 54 here, if you Lordship would once again have a look at 54, there's a difference in the two entries. Regulation of mines and mineral development to the extent to which such regulation and development under the control of the union is declared by parliament by law to be expedient in public interest. Now, the word to the extent to which has been used for an obvious reason. word, not here, the entry 54 includes both the manufactory, that is mines. That's the factory part, the manufacturing part, and includes mineral. So there's nothing not else there left. So both the things come over here on a declaration. Unlike not industries, when a declaration is made, not the product of the industry doesn't go there. Here, the product of the industry is taken over under entry 24. But in case of not industry, entry 52, Your Lordship may have entry 33 list 3.
Takes complete control.
So it's not that the whole industry goes over or everything goes relating to that industry goes over. Kindly have entry 33 list 3. We'll have to consider what is the ambit of the word industry. And that will have to be assessed first and foremost in the context of the state entries. The reason being, Lord, entry 24 is intricately linked with entry 52 because whatever can be drawn under entry 52 is from entry 24 and no other entry. Then kindly have 26 and 27. Entry 26 and 27 of list 2.
Actually, just dwell on entry 33. You can read entry 33.
Answer.
That might help you.
Very well. Trade and commerce in and the production, supply and distribution of the products of any industry where the control of such industry by the union is declared by parliament by law to be expedient in public interest and imported goods of the same kind as such product. So therefore, trade and commerce, supply and distribution don't go to entry 50.
So it's very interesting because once a declaration is made by law of parliament under entry 52, the trade and commerce is taken out of the field of entry 52 and immediately goes into entry 33 of list 3.
As product of the notified industry.
Right. So to the extent, therefore, regulation of trade and commerce, production, supply and distribution, this goes into the concurrent list.
Concurrent list.
The law made then by the state legislature can be overridden by a law which is made by
That's
Article 254.
There's no difficulty, and I'll say, as I said.
But entry 33 is an indication that notwithstanding a declaration which is made under entry 52, a law made by parliament under entry 52 of list 1, subjects still lie in the province of the states, albeit under the concurrent list.
Yes.
Namely trade, commerce and
Now, Lord, importantly,
supply and distribution.
Now, importantly, since Lordships have noticed this, kindly come to the state list again.
So in other words, the domain of entry 52 will be everything pertaining to that industry minus entry 33.
Yes,
Understand. And it will be more apparent if your Lordship.
carving out an exception.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Lord,
Entry 33, list 3,
Fine.
it carves out an exception within the domain of entry 52, list 1.
yes, Lordship is right, Lord, because then now trade and commerce, supply and distribution would not come under entry 52, list 1, even if it is a notified industry. Now, but before I proceed further, kindly have, Lord, once again come to the state list. List 2, entry 24. And if your Lordship would permit me to elaborate on this, Lord, that I think would become clearer.
Which entry?
24. Once again, Lord. Industries subject to the provisions of entry 7 and 52. Now, we are not concerned with 7, Lord, we are concerned with 52 of list 1. So in other words, Lordships are right when Lordship said, Lord, that it is subject to, therefore subordinated. Now, Lord, important part is kindly see entry 26. State list.
Entry
26.
26.
Trade and commerce within the state, subject to the provisions of entry 33 of list 3. So the trade and commerce in the product of the industry is still in the state list. I'm saying for a moment, imagine that there's no IDR or entry 52. Then what is the position? The industry.
Then entry 26, list 2 would be subordinate to entry 33, list 3.
That's accepted, no? I would accept that. There's no doubt about it. Then 27 again, entry 27. Entry 33 is the combination of these two entries, 26 and 27. Entries दिखा रहा है. Now, let me again explain it from the ground level, which is the state list. Now, state list contains 3 entries, lordships have seen, industry, which is basically state subject. Then the trade and commerce and the production and supply do not fall in the word industry because there is a separate entry for that, 26 and 27. So 26 and 27 will never come to word industry. Now, when the IDR Act makes a declaration with regard to any industry, a couple of questions that will arise. One is, what will IDR Act take from the state list, the declaration? It will only draw from entry 24. It can't take over from entry 26 and 27 because that goes to entry 33. The product of the declared or a notified or scheduled industry doesn't fall in entry 52, but goes to entry 33.
Right.
Now the question is what?
So therefore, the entire doctrine of occupied field may not then be applicable to entry 52 of list 1, because on the face of the entry, a certain field, notwithstanding the declaration under entry 52 of list 1, falls under entry 33 of list 3.
Undoubtedly.
And the object of Parliament of the framers in putting it in entry 53 was, notwithstanding the declaration under entry 52, the states will still have power in respect of trade, commerce, production, supply, and distribution.
Right. I'm not, before we come to any conclusion.
Entries 26 and 27,
Then get
Man,
continued.
advisedly, they are not made subject to entry 52.
Not made subject to.
That's 33.
16.
They are only subject to 33 and 24 is subject to 52, not 26 and 27. They are independent entries. So if the parliament wants to take over anything pertaining to the trade and commerce, supply and distribution, then it has to pass some law under 33. Now, the other correction which I may be permitted to make is,
What is your, now we've seen the entries.
no,
Broadly,
there are two broad arguments. No? One is,
what is the
Yes,
theoretical
yes.
structure that you
now,
have created?
first we say, Lord,
Anything else you want us to, let's complete the entries
yes, yes. Then kindly have
Eight.
entry six,
of,
list 2. Public health and sanitation, hospitals and dispensaries. Omit the rest, not take public health into consideration. And then 8. Word is word intoxicating liquors. Now that is to say is an illustration of what follows. That intoxicating liquor in relation to that production, manufacture, possession, transport, purchase, sale of intoxicating liquors. The question is, what is the term intoxicating liquor stand for? And this term has a abundant legislative history, which we call the legal sense. So the question is, when the lordships are considering this term, my request would be the lordships will have to place the lordships in the position of the framers and see how they saw this term at that point of time. What the law was, what was the legal history, the legal sense. It is not always that in terms of the legislative power, lordships have relied upon the popular and the common sense point of view. Because more often than not, the entries have entirely different.
any other entries that we have missed, or that's now the sum total?
Yes. Now, my lord, the next entry in the state list, which I would pray lordship may have, apart from what lordships have seen, entry 51 list sites. It says, what? Duties of excise on the following goods: manufactured or produced in the state, and countervailing duties at the same or lower rates on similar goods manufactured or produced elsewhere in India. So duties of excise on the following goods: A, alcoholic liquors for human consumption.
Is it same as intoxicating liquor?
That's the question which lordships will have to deal with. Because why would framers use different words in two different entries? And the reason my answer is the legislative history is there. That is why.
Is there any liquor which is not intoxicating?
I don't think so. At least I have not experienced.
From the consumer, I suppose.
Just come from Holi, so you have
It
to.
depends on the person who drinks it, whether it is
And how,
intoxicating or
how
not.
late?
That could be strength of the effect, but effect will be there.
Consumer.
Alcoholic liquors, they all
Yeah,
liquids
yeah.
containing alcohol, they are intoxicating. I can't imagine of a liquor which is not intoxicating. Heat industrial alcohol. Of course, intoxicating means alcoholic content. Industrial alcohol has higher alcoholic content, that's all. It can't be had as it is. But then, do we have whiskey as it is? No, we have it with soda or water normally.
That again,
That again depends. Avoiding any.
We must say.
No, for that matter, Lord, some people do have neat liquor. But then, but the neat, that's what I'm trying to explain. No? The neat liquor is also more often than not mixed with ice cubes. It's not a constitutional issue. No, but it has been, Lord. Kindly have Article 47. Kindly have Article 47. It says state can prohibit consumption of alcoholic drinks. So whenever they refer to beverage form or something that can be had as it is, neat as Lord Justice, there Article 47 refers to that as intoxicating drink. So a whole lot of different phrases have been used in different entries, Lord. There has to be some purpose behind it. And that is what my endeavor would be to show why. In any case, Lord, at least one assumption I can make is, Lord, when we read entry 51 list 2, when it says alcoholic liquors for human consumption.
There is
That
one
can-
reason possibly why they said, otherwise liquors would have been sufficient. Why do they use intoxicating liquor?
I'll ask that is a question which legal history, not legal, the state of law, which not preceded our constitution,
As Mr.
that indicates.
Mr. Datar will tell you if you go down south, or Mr. Giri will tell you that even when somebody serves you coffee, they'll ask you, do you want to have the liquor? When you have the coffee liquor, it's not the decoction. The decoction is very often referred to as a liquor, but it's not intoxicating liquor. Tea liquor,
Yeah,
absolutely. Tea liquor, coffee liquor.
Strict lot each house has its own list. Caution is made a lot of the coffee powder is mixed with chicken. Different proportion. It has been carried on from generation.
So it's liquor, but it's not the intoxicating liquor. Therefore, we have a history in our country of alcohol. It's not alcohol, but it's still referred to as liquor.
Not when we're talking of whiskey and liquor, Lord, the coffee liquor seems to be a little.
No, coffee liquor is a different.
I know.
Coffee liquor is very different.
I know.
Liqueur,
That is
UER.
L-I-Q-U-E-R.
UER.
liqueur it's called sometimes.
Yeah, spirits. It is spirits.
My real problem in this matter is what is the learned Attorney General going to argue when you people are done? See, because
But the bigger problem would be what most of the lordships would do, Lord, without understanding what liquor is.
That's true, that's true.
That would be a bigger problem.
the attorney's whole argument is going to be purely theoretical.
Or if,
Now you can argue with the coffee part of it.
Attorney, you have an uphill task.
no, let him have liquor, Lord, he'll conquer the hill.
The lighter side again.
Actually,
I was appearing.
Look at other way
Chief
around.
Justice Datu.
some of
the
us would
Kerala
like,
High Court,
can do it more impartially. We know nothing about liquor.
on
can
a
be more
state
impartial.
tax on hatcheries. So then question was about 301, 304, etc. Chief Justice Datu asked me, Mr. Venkataraman, how much should you know about chickens? So I said, I don't know about the internal motion, but I know about the motions from state to state. So that was talking about coffee, the Kumbakonam degree coffee, which is the highest
Yes.
coffee. Yes. There's a very important question. Liquor other than intoxication and intoxicating liquor.
That's right.
Therefore, that's the secret of entry 8. When the address a lot on that.
Attorney doesn't sound very convincing with regard to coffee liquor, Lord. He must graduate on to the liquor part.
Yes, Mr. Bedi.
Now coming back, not to the, kindly have note, the Lordship has seen, it's a taxing entry, entry 51 list 2, and duties of excise, which means tax on production and manufacture. Now the parallel entry is there in the union list, entry 84. Lordship would have to see it before the amendment because now 2016, GST, etc., has really spoiled the shape of the entries. Pre-2016. It would be there in the footnote, perhaps.
Yes, we got it in the footnote. You have to thank Mr. Shankaranarayan for producing this masterpiece. No, at page 471.
Yes. Kindly juxtapose this entry 51 with entry 84, the parallel of this entry in the union list. Because for tax purpose, it seems framers divided this entry. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption and alcoholic liquor not for human consumption. So liquor was divided into two categories. Coming back to entry 51 again, Lord, with due respect, Lord, I'm sorry, there was something which I should have pointed out earlier. It contains three items in fact. Your Lordship would see alcoholic liquors for human consumption, that's one item. The other item is opium, Indian hemp, etc. And the third item is medicinal and toilet preparations, which are in the exclusion clause, but not including medicinal toilet preparations containing alcohol.
All these cough syrups which have alcohol will go to the center
For tax.
for tax.
For tax. But the interesting part which I wanted to really emphasize here is, Lord, there is no regulatory entry in any of the lists, either specifying the word industrial alcohol or stating alcoholic liquors not for human consumption. There's no legislative entry in any of the lists, list 1 or 3.
So does it mean that industrial alcohol is not meant for human consumption?
Obviously, Lord, it can't be had because the
Nature of
strength of the liquor is not 95%, 97%, not 90 to 95%.
yes.
So which is dangerous for health, perhaps.
Mr. Dwivedi, you just said no regulatory entry in any list using the phrase industrial alcohol or I missed actually.
Or alcoholic liquor not for human consumption. I can understand, not if the idea was to regulate these two, tax these two, then there should be some regulatory provision somewhere. Intoxicating liquor is one such entry, Lordship may keep it in mind. But apart from that, there is no entry to regulate industrial alcohol or alcoholic liquors not for human consumption. And more importantly, Lord, if Lordship would see medicinal and toilet preparations containing alcohol, there is no legislative entry in any of the lists. The question, therefore, which comes to my mind, which I placed before Lordship, and I'll try to answer that. Why? Taxing entry only regulates part of it, the intoxicating liquor or alcoholic liquor. But the rest of the parts are where we don't know. We have to speculate. Synthetics puts it in entry 52 because of IDR. If we put it in entry 52, then obvious thing would be that it goes to entry 24 then. Because you can't pick up from any other entry excepting 24, so far as industry is concerned. So if we place it in entry 52, then per necessity it must go to entry 24.
Medicinal preparations containing alcohol will go to list 1.
No, but which entry?
Entry 97.
No, I'll answer that. No, that's not. If entry 97 has been determined to be so huge, then what was the point in having these entries? They could have just said list 2 and 3, entry 97.
But
it would have included everything.
But a medicinal preparation containing alcohol,
Man.
then the duty of power to levy duty of excise, where will that go according to you?
No, duty of excise is there, entry 84.
Right,
Entry 84, list 1,
right.
it clearly includes
Include medicines.
unamended. Answer. Right. It includes. So that's what I'm saying, Lord. The idea is to have these items as separate items, but for tax only, but not for regulation,
So entry 84 will cover medicinal preparations which have alcohol.
for taxation.
Act, of course, yes.
So what appears apparently is that unless we look into the the legislative history of this word intoxicating liquor and the laws pertaining to alcoholic liquors.
Now we have seen the entire gamut of entries, right?
Fine.
Now why don't you formulate what your points are?
Yes.
So then once we do that, we'll go to synthetics and see. It's not a very long matter.
No, it will, we'll have to trace the legislative.
Obviously, but why don't you
Without
formulate
history, I
it?
would not be able to make it.
No, obviously, we'll look at the legislative history of intoxicating liquors, but now you can just formulate what your submissions are.
Yes. The first question again is, Lord, as I pointed out,
We've made a note at page 29, page
29,
30,
yes.
PDF page 30, but now why don't you formulate what your points are?
not the first question which I'm going to canvass for Lordship is that entry 8 list 2, which confers exclusive jurisdiction on the states to regulate industrial alcohol,
Which confers exclusive.
jurisdiction on the states to regulate industrial alcohol, because industrial alcohol is part of intoxicating liquor. So the scope of entry 8
Industrial alcohol is part of intoxicating liquor.
and therefore states have exclusive jurisdiction.
So your first submission is entry 8 of list 2 confers exclusive jurisdiction on states to regulate industrial alcohol because industrial alcohol is part of intoxicating liquor. All right,
Intoxicating liquor, Lordship, note it down. The intoxicating liquor is a general term,
Yes.
unlimited. It has not been restricted by any phrases before or after.
Is a general term.
Unrestricted by any other entry, unlike 24. Put it in a better formula, it's a specific entry. Industry is a general entry. This is a specific entry which at least 3 constitution benches of lordships have held that to be.
Intoxicating liquor is a general term unrestricted by any other entry.
Entry. And perhaps not, it's a special entry in state list as compared to entry 24, which is a general entry. Industry can include any industry. But if Lordship would see entry 8, it says production, manufacture, sale, purchase, everything is there. It includes virtually every activity relating to intoxicating. And in McDowell's case, Lordships have held this very clearly that it's a special entry as compared to industry, which is a general entry. Since Lordship may have a look at, I'm sorry if Lordships are right, entry 25 list 2. If I may place, no? Entry 25 list 2 says gas and gas works. That's an industry. But the question which I am posing is, does it fall under word industry then? If there is a specific entry which has been carved out of the word industry, entry 24 cannot be deemed to include gas and gas works.
In that sense, even.
Because if industry was wide enough to include gas and gas works, then what was the point in having it there? We can't, by interpretation, make the entry redundant. Likewise, entry 8, it's a special entry as compared to the general entry, industry, entry 24.
Every other place, they say.
The power to legislate on
Industrial
on industrial alcohol.
Because that is to say, kindly have not the elaborateness of the illustrative part. That is to say is an illustrative word, but look at the elaborateness of the illustrative part. It says,
Industrial alcohol.
production, manufacture, possession, transport, purchase and sale of intoxicating liquor. What else is left then? Apart from this, I ask myself. It's a complete entry, which includes every aspect of industry, intoxicating liquor. So I have to answer that question whether intoxicating liquor is white or not.
No, the question is whether intoxicating liquor would include industrial alcohol.
Industrial alcohol.
That is the question.
That's the question. Yeah. And for that, one of the aspects which I had indicated and emphasized.
Wouldn't it postulate something which is for human consumption by its very nature?
No, that's one way of looking at it. As I said, this is an entry which is general and uncontrolled. Now, intoxicating can mean causing intoxication to the humans.
Yes.
It can also mean a liquor which contains intoxicating element, which can cause intoxication. So to confine this entry to only that aspect that it may cause intoxication to humans when it is had as it is, as a drink, intoxicating drink. Kindly have Article 47 for a
But
moment.
the purpose of industrial alcohol is never to intoxicate. Industrial alcohol is a completely different.
I'll answer that question. It is.
The ordinary use of the article must be seen.
Not the term industrial alcohol
also evident from entry 84.
Not, let us not confuse the two things, not, it may not be fit for human consumption as it is. This is what is difficulty. But to say that it is not intoxicating, that is not correct. Because it has alcohol, it has high quantity of alcohol, therefore it is intoxicating. Not, we are attributing this term intoxication to humans only, that may not be correct. Considering the wide entry that it is, and a general entry which is unrestricted. Because if it was only human consumption, then entry 51 explained it. So why use the different phraseology? The phraseology would have been there in entry 8. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption. That is to say, framers would not use two entirely different phrases for denoting the same thing. That's one aspect which I have. And I will show.
Because if you see entry 84 clause A as it then stood, duties of excise on tobacco and other goods manufactured or produced in India, except A, alcoholic liquors for human consumption.
Right.
There only the state can levy.
Debit duty.
Yes.
So again, the phrase is alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Now, my question to myself is that if alcoholic liquor for human consumption was a set phrase used by the framers to denote alcoholic drinks or beverage form, or which can be had by the humans, then the same phraseology should have been there in entry 8, if the idea was to indicate the same thing. And there is a reason why it is not so, because, as I said, legislative history is very critical in this regard.
One way of looking at it is, if it is a declared industry, then obviously the state will not have any jurisdiction with regard to it. Then only the center can have the jurisdiction over that entity.
There's no difficulty. But the question which I had posed before Your Lordship was, if intoxicating liquor falls under entry 8, then it is not an industry under entry 24. And if it is not an industry under 24, then it cannot be taken over under IDR. Because then the parliament would be determining the scope of the legislative entry.
We have entry 24, which says in list 2, industry subject to the provisions of entry 7 and 52 of list 1.
So therefore, word industry cannot include word intoxicating liquor, manufacture of intoxicating liquor, because both are separate entries specified in the state list only. One is special, the other is general. The special has been carved out. For instance, as I cited the example of gas and gas works. The Lordships would recall Calcutta gas case, no? But the Lordship specifically said it's a special entry gas and gas works. Intoxicating liquor.
Vedi, I've formulated your third point like this. Entry 51 and entry 54 of list 2 use the expression alcoholic liquor for human consumption.
Well,
Entry 8 of list 2 would have used the same phrase if the framers so intended. But entry 8 list 2 uses a wider phrase, namely intoxicating liquors.
right.
If intoxicating liquor falls under entry 8 of list 2, it does not fall under entry 24 of list 2 and is therefore not subject to entry 52 of list 2.
Union cannot drag it to list 1.
That's your...
Yes.
So really speaking, I think what we now have to focus on is, what does the Constitution mean when they use the expression intoxicating liquors? And let's look at the legislative background of the use of the expression.
Fine.
Because, Mr. Dwivedi, then everything really either your argument either falls or survives on the content of entry 8.
Yes.
Does
but
entry 8
there's one part.
intoxicating liquor include as industrial
Absolutely correct.
alcohol?
That's right, Lord. But the alternative argument is that even if industry is the second question which I'm formulating is that even if word industry includes industrial alcohol,
Even if industry
word industry includes industrial alcohol.
in entry 52.
But first it has to include in entry 24.
Right. So alternatively, even if industry in entry 24,
Then only it can be taken over under
right,
entry
right.
52.
No, we're just formulating it.
Yes.
I want to understand your
Quite.
Alternatively,
But
even
if
if
the
one second,
industry,
let's
I'm
just
sorry.
hold us the
I'm-
thought down,
I'm sorry.
Alternatively, even if industry in entry 24 or entry 51,
52 list 1,
52 of list 1 includes
industrial alcohol.
industrial alcohol, then
Whatever goes to in list 1 is the manufacture.
what?
Manufacture of industrial alcohol. And once the industrial alcohol as product of the notified industry emerges, it goes to entry 33. The product is not included in entry 24 or 52.
So what is included in industry and not the product, that's what you are saying.
Not the product. But it has been well defined. There are at least 7 constitution benches which say word industry only denotes manufacture. It does not include trade, commerce, or production, supply, and distribution. Word production has been not, I would suppose not out of caution, it has been used over, but manufacture goes to industry.
Actually, so even if we reject your point on
One.
intoxicating liquor covering industrial alcohol,
The second,
the alternative limb, which frankly appears to be more acceptable, the alternative, of course,
if Lordship
but
would
you may
see
be
the whole
right
thing,
because we have not looked still at the legislative history. So we'll do
if
it with an
Lordship
open
would look at it in the sense of a timeline, Lord, perhaps not the alternative may appear to be the easier one to go to and decide.
something which is pending for 14 years, there's no timeline. We have to look at both aspects. But therefore, your second limb is that even assuming it's industry within entry 24 and therefore under entry 52, only the manufacturer falls within entry 52 of list one.
Product goes.
The rest of the product is governed by entry 33. And if it falls in entry 33, then you can levy fees.
The
Under-
jurisdiction doesn't arise, Lord.
Right.
Jurisdiction of state doesn't arise. Jurisdiction is there.
Because you can levy fees then. Fees in respect of any of the entries
Lord,
contained.
once your lordships come to the conclusion about the jurisdiction part, then what can be the ambit of jurisdiction is a separate issue, which that can be adverted to, and the disputes will arise. They can keep on coming off and on and can be answered. But the issue is of state's jurisdiction, whether it is there or not, to regulate and control industrial alcohol. Now, another interesting aspect here would be, Lord, we have if I may answer here, Lord, I could overhear. It's coming there.
So these are the four submissions or the alternate
The
submission?
B part of that last argument is, no, that state will only have jurisdiction if the field is unoccupied
Under NT 33.
and under NT 33. So the Article 254 comes in. And we have expressly stated that till date, there is no legislation by the union because under the IDR Act, not Section 18G is there. If I may place that, no? Lordship may have a look at it. But this would be the last limb. Section 18G of the IDR Act.
So what is the submission? Section 18G, how do you formulate it? Then we look at it.
Section 18G confers an enabling power on the union to regulate the products of the notified industries. Securing equitable distribution and availability at fair price, they can regulate. And that regulation has to be through an order issued by the central government, a notified order. It's like a control order. Union has to regulate by a notified order providing for
Let's see
regulation.
Section 18G, we've got it on the screen here. It will be on the screen here. Yes. Section 18G is in volume 4. Page is yours, a PDF page. 577.
This section 18G is traceable to entry 33 list 3. The central government, so far as it appears to it to be necessary or